We have another trial that began this morning. So before I jump into the prosecution's opening statement, I am going to give you guys a quick recap of who Collin Griffith is. He is 17 years old and he is currently being charged with first-degree murder for unaliving his mother. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that not even 18 months prior to that date, he was arrested for unaliving his dad. However, it was deemed self-defense and he was released. For that reason, he moved to Florida to live with his mom. Now, according to what he told investigators on September 11th of 2024, she fell on a knife and she passed. However, medical examiners determined that her injuries were not the cause of an accident and that it in fact was homicide, which is why he was arrested. Now, let's jump into the prosecution's opening statements. I took notes, so here we go. On Sunday, September 8th, they start off with in Auburndale, Florida, defendant viciously and savagely unalived his mom. He used significant force that the puncture wound started here and ended up here. Okay. Now, the prosecution is stating is that after that happened, he stood there and watched her pass. But they go back to February 13th of 2023. He lived in Oklahoma with his father. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that the defense team won the request to not release to the jury that he had already unalived his dad. All the prosecution can state is that he unalived someone, but they cannot specify who. So the prosecution states that he lived in Oklahoma and on February 14th of 2023, he unalived someone. He shot them multiple times. He was stating that it was self-defense, and for that reason, he wasn't charged. The time that he lived with his dad, the prosecution stated is that the dad was very controlling and that for that reason, the mom really had limited resources and was unable to stay in contact with her son and to even have her son living with her. Even though she wanted to have a relationship with him, it was essentially limited. Now, he moves back to Florida with the mom. And as I mentioned, she didn't have much contact with him and she wanted to make up for lost time. They spent money on trips and she pretty much gave him everything that she could to make up for that time that she didn't have with her son. He was 16 at the time. The only thing she asked in return is that he helped her out. He would, use the weed whacker, do chores, pick up his room, and just really be responsible and respect her. However, that was not something that he was interested in doing, and they had a lot of discourse for that reason. He had deep-seated anger for his mother and shared that openly with others. Now, as months pass, he states that anger builds and that mom essentially had to deal with those issues. In fact, he actually attacked her on one occasion where the police came back and actually arrested him for domestic violence. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that when a juvenile is arrested for domestic violence and is released, he's released back essentially to the victim, unlike adults where you can't go near that person. So as a juvenile, he was given probation and continued to live with her. She, according to reports, was scared of him, but tried to really work on their relationship. She wanted things to work out. However, she did end up purchasing cameras and setting up footage in multiple parts of the home, for safety purposes. He actually was Baker acted at one point, and when he was released from being Baker acted, he was going to be taken home. Police have on body cam that he says that he doesn't want to live with her, and because he really doesn't know what he's capable of doing to her. He lies about his mom, just kind of stating that she hurts him, hits him, all of these things, so that he doesn't know if he's going to snap. At this point, the police are like, hold on a minute, and take him back to where he was at. However, eventually he is released to the mom, and the police ensure to really check on them periodically because at the end of the day, safety for both of them was their priority. He said that he was scared of his mom, but he vocalized to multiple witnesses different things that he wanted to do with her or to her. In fact, he had no qualms about sharing that with his maternal grandfather, his mother's father. He specifically told him that he wanted to her throat and watch her as life left her body. The grandfather just told him, you guys need to work your stuff out. I get you have issues with your mom, but that's sick. On September 7th of 2024, the son went and bought Starbucks with the credit card that she gave him, sandwiches, etc. And again, the prosecution is stating that you're going to watch all of this through the different footage set up outside and inside of the house. When he comes home, mom simply asked, I really need you to help me with the bookshelf, and really need you to kind of cut the weeds and take out the trash because you have ants in your room because of the candy. He didn't want to be bothered with it. He started arguing with her. And at that point, she got fed up and she told him, then you need to leave until you can show me some respect. Apparently that's what he wanted to do. So he ended up leaving to go to his maternal grandmother, which seems that he is very close with or was at the time. He ends up going to the grandmother. As time passes, the mom starts texting him and telling him that he needs to come back home, that he has chores to do, and that he's, essentially overreacting, that he's expected to do these chores. He ignores her. So at that point, she starts threatening him, telling him, if you don't come home, I'm going to cut off your phone. I'm going to sell your car. I'm going to cut off your car insurance, yada, yada. And then her threatening gets a little bit worse. And she starts threatening him with the fact that she has camera footage where he openly admits what he did to his dad. That it, in fact, was not in self-defense. And that she was going to share that with different attorneys, all of that. In addition to the different recordings that she has on an iCloud that belonged to the dad, where he essentially was threatened. And that also she was going to report back what he shared with her father about wanting to unalive her. He ignores her. She decides to get in the car and go to her mother's home. Witnesses state that on that day, they see Collin and the mom arguing outside, heated argument. And that at one point, he grabs her by the hair, drags her from the driveway inside of the house. Cameras keep recording inside of the home. And he drags her to the back of the house. And prosecution is stating that that is when he did what he did to her. He did essentially do what he promised to do to her. And stood there and watched her pass. That is the end of the prosecution statements, pretty much stating after all of the evidence that we show you between body cam footage and all of this footage and just different witnesses, you are in fact going to see that she didn't fall on a knife. That she was in fact unalived by her son in the way that he promised to do it. So stay tuned for the defense's opening statement, which if you don't like victim blaming, that's what's going to happen. So prepare yourselves for that. I will keep you guys updated. Again, please follow me on Instagram and YouTube just in case this goes away. And please like and share for more. Talk to you soon.